And the Hispanic Access Foundation has released new data finding alarming air quality levels in Latino communities, including right here in El Paso. Now, the research was conducted in partnership with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Those findings showing that El Paso is nearing the EPA's updated safety threshold. The pollutants can directly be contributed to and can be to asthma, lung cancer, stroke, neurological disorders, and potential development impairments and low birth weight. And joining us now is Hilda Berganza, the Climate Program Manager at the Hispanic Access Foundation. And Ms. Berganza, thank you so much for joining us here on the program. This program, it measured the air quality from January 1st to December 31st in 2024. What exactly did that data tell you as it pertains to us here in El Paso?
Yes, thank you. In 2024, El Paso averaged 6.7 micrograms per cubic meter of particle pollution, PM 2.5, which is below the EPA threshold of 9 micrograms per cubic meter. However, in October and December, it did exceed the EPA safe standard, showing how quickly conditions can shift from safe to harmful air pollution. El Paso, even though for the majority of the year did stay within the EPA safe threshold, it does rank 9th in the most ozone polluted U.S. city, and it ranked 9th in the 2024 IQ Air Report. And ground level ozone is a pollutant that would combine with PM 2.5. It can affect tens of thousands of residents in the El Paso area.
Yeah, and I want to get into that ozone findings here in just a second, but those findings also showed that El Paso, they maintained concentrations within those EPA standards over the course of the year, but they still exceeded those levels in both October and December. Why is there a jump in those 2 months? We're currently in December right now, so is it something that people need to be a little extra mindful of right now?
That's a great question. As a border city, El Paso faces unique air quality challenges that are driven usually by geography, traffic, dust storms, and industrial activity. And it seems to drive up during this time of year. And we are collecting data for 2025, which we will also analyze and show the results later on. But it is something that all El Paso residents should keep in mind on, especially when it comes to this time of year. And again, just because there's challenges driven by geography and traffic and industrial activity in that area.
And you mentioned that the findings also showing that El Paso continues to struggle with ozone pollution. You mentioned ranking 9th, the 9th most polluted U.S. city for ozone in that 2024 IQ Air World Air Quality Report. Why does El Paso struggle with so much ozone pollution? Is this strictly a result maybe of the border and the crossings that we see on a daily basis, both commercial and passenger?
You know, when it comes to ozone, there are many reasons ozone exists. Ground level ozone specifically is a pollutant created by chemical reactions between nitrogen oxides and VOCs in the presence of sunlight and heat. But human activities, specifically vehicle emissions and industrial processes, are the major sources for these precursors. So that is what we have looked at and found in our data.
And Ms. Berganza, one other question that I had for you. Do we expect, you mentioned that these studies are also happening in 2025. Do we expect to see any improvements right now at all?
That is also a great question. Right now, our 12 locations, so we have 12 Latino serving churches that are measuring PM 2.5 with purple air sensor monitors across the United States. And like you mentioned, yes, there is one here in El Paso. Right now, we are still collecting and analyzing the data from 2025, and we do compare it with the EPA's annual PM 2.5 data to also understand how federal numbers align with our data and local realities in the area. So we are expecting the data to remain somewhat the same, but we will not know for sure until the data is fully analyzed and compared with the EPA's annual PM 2.5 data.
And Ms. Berganza, we have this information now, right? What do we do with it? What's being done to combat this type of pollution in our region? What can be done by just the everyday resident living in El Paso that is looking to improve their local air quality?
Well, it's definitely important to be educated on the topic of air pollution. Yes, our particles, PM 2.5, also ozone, but other air pollutants that exist in the air. And also to understand and recognize that polluted air really impacts vulnerable populations, which include children, the elderly, outdoor workers, and the Latino community, who make up 81% of El Paso's population and also experience disproportionate exposure to pollutants. It is important to be educated on that and to also understand that many, especially Latinos, live near highways, industrial corridors, and dust-prone areas. And as mentioned earlier, they do have higher rates of asthma and heart disease and stroke, but it's important to recognize that and also be connected to and check the local air quality index as well as our Purple Air map, which lives right now on Hispanic Access's website, where you can see live monitoring at the 12 locations of PM 2.5, so you can recognize and see if levels are elevated in that moment of time. And if they are, there are ways to protect yourself. If you're able to, on days that PM 2.5 and other air pollutants are elevated, we recommend that you stay indoors. Close your windows, close your doors. If possible, purchase an air purifier with a HEPA filter. And if you can avoid burning wood or trash that could add to indoor air pollution, please do avoid that. And I think the biggest thing is to use your voice. Advocate for stronger regulations for cleaner air for everyone, families, communities, and everyone that you see may be directly impacted by this.
Appreciate those tips, Ms. Braganza. Also appreciate you coming on the program, shedding some light on this topic. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
That is Hilda Braganza, the Climate Program Manager at the Hispanic Access Foundation. Don't go anywhere. We have more KTSM 9 News coming up right after this short break.